Ever hear of the terms lead generation and demand generation and wondered if they're the same thing or not? Hey, I'm Alex with Jotform, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the differences between lead generation and demand generation. You may be saying to yourself, Alex, before I can tell what the difference is between lead generation and demand generation, what exactly are these two things you speak of? Great question, which leads perfectly into my first order of business, defining exactly what is lead generation and what is demand generation. I mean, they kind of sound like the same thing, right? And you've probably heard these terms thrown around and maybe wondering which is better for your business. Well, the answer to that question is that neither is better. One relies on the other, like Maverick and Goose. One is the other's wingman. Let's start with demand generation. In a nutshell, it's all about getting interest, awareness, and excitement around your product or service. It's like the name says, about generating demand, also known as creating buzz, traffic, and attention. If you've ever gone saltwater fishing before, you could liken demand generation to chumming the waters. If you haven't gone saltwater fishing, chum is basically a frozen block of chopped up fish and stuff that you drag behind your boat, sending it out into the waters to attract fish towards your boat. You're not catching any fish by chumming, but you're telling all the fish in the area, hey, look over here, yummy stuff in the water over here. Which leads us to our next definition. Lead generation. If we think about demand generation as that frozen block of chum that's attracting lots of fish towards your boat, lead generation is you casting your line and bait into the trailing chum, floating in the water, and catching an actual fish. While demand generation is all about creating interest, lead generation is all about turning that interest into actual purchasing customers. In other words, lead generation becomes the result of your demand generation efforts. Remember before when we talked about how you can't have one without the other? We all know how it was for Maverick after Goose died. I mean, after all, we all know it wasn't Maverick's fault, it was Iceman's. But that's neither here nor there. Lead generation simply doesn't do well without demand generation, or vice versa. Let's take a look at a fake, real-world example. QuickBait is a new fishing app that hooks up charter captains with people that want to go fishing. QuickBait advertises with display ads on Facebook, TikTok, and other social media platforms. They also are running 30-second commercials on all the fishing shows on Hulu. Plus, they're spending a bunch on Google Ads, search campaigns for anyone searching for charters or fishing trips. All of this stuff that they're doing is demand generation. Now, each one of these demand generation efforts is driving traffic to their website and their app. Most of the time, they're driving people to landing pages that are customized for that campaign. From there, they offer new potential customers incentive bonuses and discounts to try the service out, like getting 10% off their first charter. They are also leveraging the power of their current customer base's reviews to incentivize conversions from lookalike audiences using social proof. All of these types of activities are lead generation, since they focus on taking the people that have shown interest in their ad campaigns, the demand generation efforts, and converting them into new customers that will hopefully continue to use their service time and time again. One way to visualize the difference between demand generation and lead generation is by looking at a sales funnel. If you're not familiar with a sales funnel, it in essence is a visual representation of the journey customers take from initially learning about your brand, product, or service all the way down through purchase and repeat business. Why is it a funnel, Alex, you ask? Well, because the top of the funnel is the widest part, representing the broad reach of things you do at the top of the funnel, which is reaching mass audiences and creating awareness, while the bottom of the funnel is the smallest, since only a small percentage of the people at the top of the funnel actually make it down through all of the stages and become paying repeat customers. Are you starting to see how this relates? Demand generation, things like creating brand awareness, building interest, educating the target market, is the top of the funnel. Lead generation, stuff like capturing contact information, qualifying leads, and converting them into customers, is at the bottom of the funnel. There are definitely distinct differences between the two, and you need to understand these differences to effectively put marketing plans into action that leverage both ends of the funnel so that you can maximize your customer acquisition and retention efforts. Here are some other ways to look at the differences between demand generation and lead generation. Demand generation has the goal of creating awareness and understanding. It doesn't matter whether the customer is ready to purchase right now or not. It's all about them learning about your product or service and understanding how it may benefit them or anyone else for that matter. It's simply about them understanding the solution you're providing when the problem arises. Lead generation, on the other hand, seeks to find people who have the problem that you're solving right now and encourage them to take action and utilize your product or service to solve their problem. Lead generation is all about finding people whose timing is right now or giving them enough information and incentives to make their purchasing decisions happen now. Demand generation engages people with your brand. It builds trust, educates, provides resources, aids in understanding, and communicates value. Lead generation differentiates your brand from competitors, presents the benefits, provides use case scenarios, and outlines real-world solution examples. Demand generation is typically based around mass media and mass communications. Lead generation is often centered around a more personalized approach, sometimes involving personal contact and communication to qualify leads and close deals. You could also say that demand generation is traditionally more of a function of marketing teams, while lead generation is more of a function of sales teams. So, we've learned a lot about what demand generation and lead generation are, as well as the differences between them. But rather than focusing on what their differences are, modern marketers should focus more on how the two complement each other for maximum results. Without demand generation, lead generation efforts on their own are inefficient and cost ineffective when it comes to sustained growth. You can cast all day into the deep blue sea, but you'll catch way more fish if you're chumming the waters first.